July of last year, I started alternate day fasting. I lost 52 pounds between July and December.
Wow.
My highest point, I was probably close to 200 pounds, and at my height, that's pretty elite.
While you were pregnant or after you gave birth?
After, yeah, I was afraid of the scale.
My mom, she had 5 children. And like, I remember as a child, people always seeing her and being like, 5 children, where? You know? So now you get to experience that. 6 children, where?
What I did is 44 hours fasting and 4 hours eating. And I identified that every time I felt bad was only after I ate. I went to my doctor and I told her that, and she said, we're gonna run this panel on you. And my number was sky high. And yeah, I was diagnosed.
Okay, it's almost like if you weren't fasting, this might have been a little bit more challenging to figure out what was going on.
Definitely. Definitely.
Hi, I'm Chris James, and you're watching A Healthy Alternative. Today, we've got a special guest. Ellysa is here with us, and we are going to be talking a little bit about her health and wellness journey, what she experienced, the ups, the downs, the good, the bad. If you guys are willing to check her interview out, it's coming up next. All right. So thank you very much for being with me today. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. And before we started recording, we were talking about which bear is best. And according to our expert here on the panel, the black bears are the nice bears, right?
Yeah, they're better than the cookies, that's for sure.
All right. So today I want to just take a quick second to highlight some of the things that you've experienced in your health and wellness journey, just as a way to wet people's whistle so they can kind of understand, well, why should I listen to this interview? What are we going to be talking about today? So if you just want to briefly go over some of the highlights, you don't have to go into any detail, but what are some of the things that you experienced on your wellness journey so far?
Well, I had 6 children very fast, and yeah, I had, I think one of the most significant things that people see when they see my progress pictures is my belly and how huge it was. And, it had been through a lot. My grandmother ended up dying in 2022, and her health was something that I witnessed her struggle with my whole childhood. She raised me. And that is what inspired me to take better care of my health. And I was having a hard time after my last pregnancy. Each pregnancy got progressively harder and harder.
Hmm.
And it ended up being to where I couldn't be as physically active as I needed to be with my children. And I had this fatty tumor on my arm that I had had since a teenager, but it was getting bigger and bigger. And I started another one on my leg, and I just developed a lot of anxieties about my health in the long term and being able to be there for my children and my grandchildren and, growing old with my husband. So that's kind of what started me caring so much about it.
Wow. Wow. Man, I would have never guessed. My mom, she had 5 children, and I think she had her last one. She might have been like 25 or something like that, 28, something like that. Before 30, she had her last one. And like I remember as a child, people always seeing her and being like, 5 children, where? You know? So now you get to experience that. 6 children, where? Um,
Yeah.
but it was a journey getting there. And so we're going to dive into that a little bit and understand. So when obviously as a mother with 6 children, the health is a major concern. Um, when did you start to notice? Because you said each pregnancy your health got it got harder having. It's weird because I thought babies are supposed to come out easier. That's what I've been told. I don't know. I'm not a woman. Is that typically what people say is it gets easier after time, or is it like generally get harder?
It just depends. as far as birth, each birth is different. And pregnancy, I would say it does tend to get harder and harder because you're more depleted. And your body's just grown so much in the last, for me, it was over the course of about 10 years. And I had nine total. I had three losses and six
Oh,
full birth deliveries. So yeah, it
that's yeah, that's a long time to be pregnant. Do you enjoy pregnancy? I mean, I guess outside of the complications, like, do you like being pregnant?
I do. I like it a lot, and I love babies too. So
Perfect combination.
yeah.
So let's go back, I guess, to towards the beginning. What was your health like growing up? Like, what type of food did you eat? What type of environment were you in?
Yeah, not the best. I mean, I lived in rural Alaska and I grew up in a dry cabin. And my grandparents raised me. They hauled water in, and that's what we drank. And I ate a lot of microwavable food. Um, but it wasn't the best thing. It wasn't. And when I was 17, I met my husband and we moved off grid at our own place. And that's where I started to eat a little bit more healthy. We ate more whole foods, I would say, less packaged stuff. But overall, I was pretty healthy, I would say.
Mm. It's interesting because, and once again, we talked off camera. I know one person from Alaska, like he's not from there, but he lived there for a while. And I've always thought of Alaska as just a place where people hunt and, like they probably eat more healthy. I never considered the convenience and how people might abuse that. So when you talk about TV dinners, um, that kind of shocked me a little bit. Did
Yeah.
you uh did you hunt or did your family hunt at all?
Not really. There's definitely a lot of people in Alaska that hunt and fish, but not everyone. The nice thing is that people share a lot. So I did eat a lot of fish because people just basically hand it out a lot of times. If they
Mm.
have went over their limit. People enjoy catching the fish and yeah, we've received a lot of free fish.
Okay. All right. So when you were younger, did you learn how to cook? Because if you're eating a lot of TV dinners, I'm wondering, did you like develop those skills or?
No, no, I didn't. I didn't know how to cook at all. And my husband did though. He knew how to cook and he taught me a lot. And then I blossomed it from there and now I love cooking. It's one of my favorite. It's a passion of mine. So.
Yeah. Well, that goes along with being pregnant and babies and cooking and my mom taught me how to I like to bake. That was like my thing. So she taught me how to bake and she taught me some of the rules of baking. And then later on in life, when I got off on my own, I started learning how to cook because, baking is like, you're not going to bake everything. So, um,
Yeah.
but what was your weight like? I know you had mentioned your stomach earlier. Like before you started having children, were you slender or did you have any issues with weight or anything?
I was very small. I'm 5'2", so I'm built very, very tiny. And I was lucky if I could be 100 pounds or more. So I was very small and I was insecure about how small I was. I wanted to be like bigger, but not, I mean, I never wanted to be like overweight, but
Right. Yeah. Yeah, so it's an interesting thing. People who don't get big, like let's say with the TV dinners, there's a lot of sodium. That would be like one of the main concerns. And of course, the processed foods, just eating processed foods. And I'm sure other people who probably like ate a lot of TV dinners started to see, weight come on and things of that nature. But then there's some of us that just don't gain any weight. It's like no matter what you eat, you really don't gain. And what I find is you get a concentration of chemicals in your system because fat actually expands and will suspend toxicity. So
Mhm.
like gaining weight or getting fat or whatever when you're not consuming the best food is actually like the body's natural response. And so I'm just
Mhm.
wondering if because you were able to maintain your physique in spite of what you were eating, if that ended up becoming an issue for you later, as it relates to your health.
Yeah, what's interesting that makes me think of that with what you're saying is when you look at, there's been studies done on babies that are breastfed versus formula fed. And the babies that are breastfed, they might be smaller in their babyhood than the formula fed baby. But as they get like bigger, they're also less prone towards obesity later on in adulthood. Whereas if you're a formula fed baby, your risk, how vulnerable you are to obesity, is a lot higher than your breastfed one.
Now, one thing that I like to say when it comes to like breastfeeding versus formula, we don't really look at it this way. You're basically starting your baby off on processed foods. So, like formula is a processed food, whereas the breast milk would be your whole ingredients, your whole food. And so like a lot of us have been eating processed foods literally our entire life.
Wow.
My mom did breastfeed, so I was blessed. But we did see a lot of our friends. They were like always snotty nose, always had ear infections and, those sorts of things. And now there's studies, as you mentioned, there's studies showing the differences between the two, as well as other types of childhood studies. But
Yeah.
I'm just curious if you wanted to talk about like what are some of the complications that you experience through pregnancy? Because I think when you're pregnant, and depending on your level of health, it is going to change how you experience pregnancy. So,
Mhm.
if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, so with all of my pregnancies, I struggled with something called hyperemesis, where you vomit a lot excessively and you're excessively nauseous. And that can be hard for multiple reasons. It's hard to hold food down to maintain your nutrition, and that will negatively impact multiple areas, of nutrition. And then with my last baby I've always struggled with my iron absorption. And last baby, they had to put me on iron infusions every other week.
Mm.
And I was still very deficient by the time I gave birth to him. So, and
Wow.
I had oral supplementation and that kept me okay, but I I needed the infusions with this last one. So I was just so depleted, and the minerals too for my teeth and everything. My teeth were rotting like very fast, and it's hard. And I breastfed all of mine as well. So when you're and then you're breastfeeding in between, just back to back for 10 years, it's very demanding on your body.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if you're breastfeeding everybody, yeah, you're basically breastfeeding the whole time. Um,
Yeah.
one thing that I find is interesting, the doctors will offer you iron when your iron is low. It seems logical, but what I find is that you have copper deficiency.
Yeah.
So, just something, for those listening or even for yourself, find you maybe a really good bioavailable copper supplement and use that because my mom used to be on iron pills as well. It's just a common thing with women, maybe because of their cycles as well, low iron, anemia, things of that nature. And the doctors have only ever said iron. She used to take those huge iron pills and yeah, really it's copper is what you need. So that might be something helpful.
I found that B12 too is really important for maintaining proper iron absorption, B12, copper, and I would say folate too.
Okay, good. So you had your last baby, and you had mentioned that your I guess your belly hadn't snapped back, or what was it that you experienced with your belly that you wanted to address?
Well, I noticed it became a problem because, I would turn like my side profile in the mirror and I noticed my belly like sagging, like hanging in a way I've never noticed before. And I was like, that's different. And he was a huge baby. He was my biggest baby. So I'm like, I don't know. But I also knew I was significantly overweight. At my highest point, I was probably close to 200 pounds. And at my height, that's That's pretty obese. So,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's quite a few people that I work with that have those numbers or close to those numbers. And that was out after you were like while you were pregnant or after you gave birth.
after, yeah.
Oh, okay.
After
Yeah.
I, after I got my first weight, and it was 181 pounds, but I had already been trying to work on losing weight at that point.
Mhm.
Just aggressive, but just okay, I'm gonna eat less. And yeah, I was afraid of the scale.
That's for a petite woman to, I mean, almost basically almost double in size if you're used to being around 100 pounds or something like that. I could see how you wouldn't want to be around the scale, mirrors, pictures, cameras, video. Like, don't document this at all.
Yeah.
Um, what were some of the things that you did? So you said you ate less. Were there any particular dietary strategies that you tried?
Yeah. So well, I'll just say I found a healthy alternative back your YouTube. I believe it was like 2018. And I was struggling with my weight a little bit back then, not as much as I was last year. And I started practicing fasting back then. But then I got pregnant almost immediately, and I never really got a chance to utilize that tool for weight loss as much until last year. And July of last year, we moved into a new house. And I told myself, this, I will not build bad habits in this house. I'm going to build good habits from this point forward. This is going to be a change. And that was July. And what I did is I started alternate day fasting, a fairly aggressive form of it. And I did that back to back to back continuously for 5 months.
Wow.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, that's pretty. Yeah. It's alternate day fasting is difficult in the sense that you have to be very consistent because what I find people do is they will like let's say on Monday they'll fast and then on Tuesday they'll eat twice as much to make up for not eating on Monday and then they'll fast on Wednesday and it becomes like it cancels itself out almost. So
Yeah.
when you were so back in you said July, what was your weight then? Do you remember?
It was my first documented weight, and it was 181 pounds.
Okay.
And I lost 52 pounds between July and December using that method.
Wow. Yeah, that's beast mode right there.
And
So
my belly a
go
lot
ahead.
too. It
You
shrunk a
what?
lot. My belly shrunk.
Well, yeah, I would imagine so. I would imagine so.
My belly wouldn't hang as much anymore. It was basically not hanging at all at the end of
Right.
it. Yeah.
So when you say belly, I'm wondering, was there some loose skin there that tightened as well, or do you feel like it was like more just like fat or
It was both. I hardly have any loose skin, and I know that I should. I know, and it's amazing to me.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I know people when they have one child, they get, quite a bit of loose skin. And one of the things that I tell people is fasting has the ability to reverse loose skin. And because if you just understand what loose skin is and how it happens, and the benefit of fasting is the water intake. You're getting the water and you're getting better hydration than you normally would. And then, of course, if you couple it with proper diet when you do eat, that's even better. What type of foods did you eat when you were on your eat day?
Um, for it varied. The first couple months, I would try and stick to keto and only the whole time only ate whole foods. I developed a tick-borne disease during that makes me allergic, deathly allergic to red meat. And I that's when I started eating more carbs and a lot more fruit, and I started focusing more on volume eating during my eating windows.
That's wild. So, how did you find out about the tick-borne thing? Because I've heard of that before, but like, So you were eating red meat and then you just had a really bad reaction? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I broke out in hives and I didn't know what it was. And I've never had hives before. I went to the doctor. They didn't really know what to tell me. But then because I was eating in such what I did is 44 hours fasting and 4 hours eating. So I was eating in very short time periods. And I identified that every time I felt bad was only after I ate. And I went to my doctor and I told her that. And she said, we're going to run this panel on you and we're going to see if it comes back and positive. And it did. And my number was sky high. And yeah, I was diagnosed.
Wow. Wow. Um, wow. It seemed okay. It's almost like if you weren't fasting, this might have been a little bit more challenging to figure out what was going on.
Definitely. Definitely.
That's so crazy. Like, it's just crazy how things work out because I actually teach mono fasting. So when people have like allergies or they have poor food combining and things of that nature, or just, you know, if I'm trying to help people learn how to transition, I'll teach them mono fasting, where you just eat one whole food item per meal. And what it does is it helps you hone in on how your body specifically is responding to like a particular item, whether it's beans or greens or, whatever. And it's a great way to figure out what's not digesting well in your system. And so that's kind of what happened here. Now, you mentioned you're doing 44 hours in between so when you mentioned aggressive, yeah, that's almost 2 days of fasting. So
Yeah.
it's kind of alternate day. So, um, how did you prepare for that? Because that's like being able to do 44-hour fast for 5 months mentally. That seems like it would be a lot. You're a mom, you have 6 children. How in the world did you prepare for that? What kept you on track?
Well, honestly, I feel like it's a groove, and once you slip into it, it's a lot easier to maintain if you don't break the pattern. But if you break the pattern, I found it to be very challenging. Like if, let's say, there's a barbecue or something, and the neighbors are like, "Hey, are you going to eat with us?" If I ate something, it would throw it off, and it was hard. But if I just stuck to 44 and 4 continuously, it was fine. And the holidays is what really messed me up in December.
Mm.
Uh, when I stopped fasting because it threw me off.
So they say that the majority of your weight is gained in that I guess it's from like October to January. So people gain an average of like 3 to 5 pounds a year. I think it's 5 pounds or something, and then three of it is in like that time frame. So holidays are rough, but I mean, even still, you still ended up losing. You said 50 pounds, right?
52 pounds in the first 5 months. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. But I think you've got it. So there was a guy I was reading a book years ago, and he was talking about how eating creates appetite, you know? So one of the things you got to remember when you're using these fasting techniques, especially over long durations, is yeah, once you get in your groove, try to stay in it. Like try not to like that's that consistency piece. It makes things so much easier.
Yes.
What type of detox symptoms would you say you experienced during that time? What did you experience?
Well, I didn't really experience a whole lot. And towards the beginning, when my body was still getting used to it, I had a lot of tingling sensations in my hands and my feet for some odd. I don't understand why, but it did go away eventually. And then, the fasting, that's something I always dealt with too.
So maybe because the window of fasting was a little shorter, right? It was like I would consider that a short fast.
Mhm.
Um, maybe because of that, and then just literally just being consistent with it, and then with the whole foods or just the type of foods you were eating. Now, how much water were you drinking throughout this time?
I don't know. I was very intuitive about it. I know that I definitely consume less water when I'm fasting. I think you need more to aid in the and everything.
Mhm.
But
Okay. And were you breastfeeding during this time? No. Okay. Okay.
did this journey when I was 5 months postpartum.
Okay.
I was not nursing. I had pumped for him and then I weaned him off and had him on donor milk after that.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, because I know when it comes to like breastfeeding and fasting, that's a difficult situation there too, because usually the breast milk kind of it reduces or it production goes down.
Yeah.
So when you started, did you have the intention to do 5 months or did you plan on doing it longer? Was it like I'm just keep going till I get the results I want? What plan did you have?
Yeah, it was I'm going to do this back to back to back until I achieve my what I want, which was 120 pounds was my goal. And I didn't hit that goal. The first Under the 5 months, I was 129 pounds. So I was 9 pounds from my goal weight when I broke that pattern. And fasting, I found to be so hard. I felt like it was really affecting my hormones.
Mm.
And I was like, you know what? I'm small enough. I'm just going to try and experiment with some other things. And I experimented with volume eating and calorie deficit, and I focused more on physical activity.
Okay. So how did that compare to the fasting? How do you feel about it?
I feel like I had a lot of energy and I saw a lot of changes in my body composition. Uh, so I feel like it definitely, while the scale didn't move as much, I feel like it definitely reduced the residual fat that I had. And I was able to build muscle and I felt very strong. But I also started doing other things. I started focusing more on getting regular daylight, like sunlight on me, sunbathing every
Mhm.
day, and just other things that made me happy, singing and dancing and just being happy. And I think that helped too.
Yeah. So you were more active, um, outside more. When you were fasting, when you were doing that, did you purposely kind of keep activities more low energy? Were you like avoiding a lot of strenuous activity, or did you feel like you didn't have the energy to do those things?
Yeah, I feel like I did struggle a little bit with energy, and I don't know. I also kind of avoided it because I was just so focused on getting to the next day and what's my weight going to be in the morning and what am I going to eat in a 4 hour window. And a lot of time I would meal prep the day before so that I knew, okay, this is exactly what I'm eating. And usually it was way too much food and my family ate really good.
Right. So your appetite, but okay, so let's go back for a second. Let's say you're like 19 or whatever. At versus maybe like right after the alternate day fasting, did your stomach shrink? You could eat less?
Um, After I was done alternate day fasting, I could not eat nearly as much. Like
Mm.
years that I can recall in my adult life, I got full so easily.
Yeah.
I'm still that way. I still get full very easily.
Yeah. Me too. So I did 5 months of well, I was fasting and doing the alkaline diet. So it's like an on and off thing, but for 5 months, and then after that, my stomach shrank. I used to be able to eat an extra large pizza, you know what I mean? Before all of that, we're talking like maybe like 12, 13 years ago. I'd eat a whole extra large pizza if I wanted to. And now it's like a medium or, you know what I mean? Like four slices or something. I don't know. Like it's just my stomach has shrunk and I'm happy about that too, because I think it helps with maintenance so that, I don't ever get back to where I was. Um, Now, what was it like as far as cooking, preparing meals, but going nearly 2 days at a time without eating? Did you find it to be mentally tasking, or how did you kind of approach that? I know you said meal prepping.
Hmm. Yeah, I was very specific about things that I wanted to eat and I didn't want to eat. And I kind of committed to that in my mind. Like, whole foods. I didn't want to have anything processed, so no noodles, nothing like that. And I also was really avoiding carbs too. So the things that I could eat was a very reduced amount. And when I prepared meals for my family, I would just use things that I normally wouldn't eat. Like if they wanted noodles, okay, we can make some meal with noodles, like spaghetti, whatever. And there was some mental challenges because there were times that I made something that I did want to eat, and I just told myself, delay, don't deny, and I would take it, put it in the fridge. I can eat it tomorrow. So
I think that that is actually a really good tool. It was something when we kind of very first started our channel and everything. It was one of the tools we talked about a lot. So like, and I did it for myself too. Hey, I'm not saying that you're never gonna have this again. I'm not saying that you can't have it. It's just like we're not having it. Like that's it, just today. And there's something about the mental. I think, especially in your story, mental strengthness and toughness is very important. You're doing that type of fasting over the course of 5. I mean, that's not an easy thing to do. You're a very mentally strong woman for being able to do that, I will say.
yeah,
Um,
I think it's getting to something and sticking to it.
yeah. Yeah, my one of my coaches, Coach Mel, he's very mentally tough. He's like when we say we're going to do something, we agree we're going to do something. Not doing it is just not an option. It's just not even, he doesn't even consider not doing it. And I think that takes a special type of person because a lot of people struggle with being consistent. And
Mhm.
what was your support system like? I know you had mentioned you were around AHA and that sort of thing. Did you join any of our challenges? Were you in any of the groups? And kind of how did your husband respond to all of this?
Yeah, I never joined any of the challengers or anything, but I did. I watched a lot. I watched your group and another group on Facebook for specific to alternate fasting, and I watched a lot of YouTube videos. And my husband is by far my biggest fan. By far, he encourages me in my moments of weakness, and he's just always behind the scenes, like getting me to push myself and yeah, do what needs to be done.
That is incredible. When you have the support of your spouse, like it really does mean everything.
Yeah.
Um, Out of curiosity, has he ever been tempted to want to try any fasting with you, or is he just like,
He does. Yeah, he's very fit and healthy weight. But if he starts to see the scale going up a little bit, or maybe he doesn't like, the fat accumulation he's seeing on his midsection, he will start fasting. But he's less aggressive for obvious reasons, and he'll do like an alternate day fast once a week if he feels he needs to.
gotcha? It's
Mhm.
cool. I mean, it's I find that when spouses support each other, whoever is doing the fasting seems to do exponentially better. That's for sure. Um, I've also seen the opposite where, maybe the wife is fasting and then the husband will come home with her favorite pizza or something like that. Because, you know, I think I want to say that it's not to like try to trip them up. It's because they think what they're doing is harmful, you know? So if your spouse thinks what you're doing is harmful, they may try to encourage you to eat. Because like before I ever started teaching fasting and stuff like that, if my girlfriend wasn't eating, like if she would like, hey, what'd you have today? Oh, I just had some crackers. I would kind of freak out. I'm like, yo, you need to eat, you know? So I understand where people are going like with that, but also, by the same token, I think it's important for people's spouses to like actually dive into the research, understand, don't just assume that you know, because at the time when I felt that way, I didn't know. Well, no one was talking about fasting either. It was just like you didn't eat, you had a cracker today. But if someone would have been like, no, this is called fasting and here's the benefits, I would have listened. So I don't know. That's just more for those listening in the audience, encourage your spouse or, whoever your significant other is to maybe learn about it more. And then that might help help them get in alignment with it.
Yeah.
So now that you stopped the fasting back in December or so, you started doing the alternative therapies, getting outside. Um, did you end up losing more weight, or are you just kind of have you been consistent? Because you look a little smaller than 128 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've still been fasting this year, just off and on, here and there. But about a month ago, I committed again to fasting. I have not been perfect, but I'm like, I want to hit my goal. I want to get down to 120. And as of a couple days ago, I was 121 pounds. So I've managed to get a little bit more.
You congratulations.
I'm 1 pound from my original goal weight. So
Yeah. I got a pretty good eye. I got a pretty good eye. I'm like, I think you lost a little bit more. So what did you do over the past month? Even if you weren't perfect, that's fine. Was it back to the alternate day? Did you do the extended fasting? What'd you use?
yeah, alternate day fasting, but I ate with a larger window than I normally would. So instead of 4 hours, I'll eat on that day. I'll say, okay, this is an eating day. I'll try not to eat too late. And I typically don't have an appetite in the morning. So it was a lot more lenient. But
Mhm. Okay. So that's your tool of choice. You haven't done any like long-term fasting, nothing 3 days, 5 days, a week.
I did back in when I first found your channel in 2018, 2019. I did 4 days.
Okay. Yeah. Those are a little bit different beasts. I right now we're doing the R72, and I find that the R72 is one of those, it pushes you a little bit more, but you get exponentially more benefit out of it just because of what the body does in the time frame, like 72 hours of fasting, you get all of these incredible benefits. But then after that, you get to eat something. And I usually do encourage people to skip breakfast. As you've said, it's kind of like natural that you just don't want to eat breakfast. But
Yeah.
yeah, skip breakfast, maybe have your largest meal during noontime and maybe something smaller in the early evening or whatever the case may be. Stop eating early. I usually recommend raw food with our challenges, fresh juice, things of that nature. But um out of curiosity, did you have you noticed an improvement anywhere else outside of your belly? I know you mentioned anxiety and things of that nature. Did you want to talk about how mentally, if you've seen some improvements there?
Yeah, well, I feel a lot healthier and I'm a lot more capable. I can actually do a pull-up, which I would never thought that I would be able to. I brought my mile time from 10 and a half minutes to 8.5 minutes, which is pretty good. I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
I'm a lot more confident, and that's great. Also, the tumor, the fatty tumor that I was talking about, the one on my leg went away probably within a month of alternate day fasting. And then the one on my arm that I had had since a teenager, it shrunk to almost nothing after the 5 months.
Wow. Beautiful. So I mean, would you say that overall this experience was transformative, life-changing?
Very
Yeah.
much so. That's why I'm writing my book about it because I want to help inspire people. And the biggest thing is just knowing how much more capable you are than you thought. There's
Mhm.
so much strength that you build in your mind, and knowing that nothing is too far out of reach. You know,
Mhm. I would say that one of the first things that I personally realized coming off of the fast and reflecting was like, wow, like I'm far more capable than I thought. Like it's very empowering. Like I know exactly what you're talking about. It's very empowering. And for those who have never done it, you might not really connect with that. But once you do it, it's like, oh yeah, um, I don't know. And you could carry that into other aspects of your life. Like you said, you're doing a pull-up now. So if you could do one pull-up, you could do two pull-ups, you know? So the next time we talk, I'm gonna be looking for the update. Two pull-ups. Because I'd love to have you come back on when you finish your book. Do you have like a timeline for it, or have you like,
I wanted to get it done before the year was over, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that because we're moving and it's a lot with 6 kids. So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I don't even understand. How do you find time for yourself? Like, I'm surprised we're here. It's quiet. Like, I don't know how this is working.
I have an incredible husband and
Yeah,
he's home often and he's an amazing father and he's very involved and it helps me a lot. Really
that's
does.
beautiful. That's beautiful. I love the fact that you all have that relationship. I love the fact that you have a ton of children. I love the fact that you like having children, and you know what I mean? It's all very, very reminiscent of my mom and kind of like I think like more traditional families. My grandma had like I think she had 9 children, or did she have 9 or 10? One passed away. I remember. So I think she had 9. Um and it was like a normal thing. Whereas nowadays, when I talk to women, they're like, maybe 3. Like maybe I have 3. But I think, and maybe we've kind of shown this through this conversation, depending on your level of health, you'll have different experiences with your pregnancies. And maybe if you go into it like almost like prepare your body for it through diet and exercise and that you can improve your experience. And then maybe women will be willing to have more babies. I don't know. I want a lot of children, so uh, like I want a soccer team.
Yeah, and that's what I hope. I hope to inspire moms, that feel hopeless and like, oh, my body's just gonna look like this forever. And or their health, being out of breath and being very overweight. I want to inspire them to know it's not unrealistic. You can do it. Or people that have children yet, if they're afraid, of it harming their health in some way, and for them to know that nothing's permanent. It's just motherhood is a season. The loose skin, the extra weight, it's all just temporary, and there's so much hope for returning back to how your skin was before and
Yeah.
smaller weight and everything. Yeah.
You're the proof right here. I don't, no one can deny that. No one can deny that. I mean, you really put in that work. Your results are phenomenal. I appreciate you coming and sharing your story, and I definitely want you to come back when your book is finished so we can help promote your book. I like what you're selling. You want to sell motherhood is cool, or however you want to brand it. I'm all for that. So thank you for coming. Was there anything else? Is there any social media or anything you want to share?
Well, there's my Facebook, and I have a lot of people, not a lot, but I have I believe it's over 1,000 people following me on there. And I'll make posts on there here and there, like encouraging people. And yeah, I have a YouTube account, but I haven't posted as much about my health on that. It's more about like off-grid living and having a lot of children and stuff like that. So
I mean, that's cool too. What's your I guess what's your Facebook and what's your YouTube so we can share it?
my Facebook is just my name, which is Ellysa Kirsch, and my YouTube is called Kirsch Family Adventures, and that is Kirsch with a Kirsch.
Well, listen, I'll have all that in the description, in the comment section so people can come join. I appreciate you so much for coming, sharing, being open. This is when it comes to, pregnancy and how the body responds to it. It's a very sensitive topic for a lot of women. And so, your ability to come here and share genuinely and openly is much appreciated. I think it's going to help a lot of people. You are always welcome back. Definitely when you get your book done, come on back so we could share and, talk about the book and everything like that. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. For those listening, make sure to hit that like button if you guys want to see more videos like this. Subscribe, and as always, the application of knowledge is power, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.